Hi everyone, welcome and welcome back to CrochetObjet Knitting. If you're new here, my name is Mo. Today's video is a very highly requested one. On today's video I'm going to be showing you how to crochet the solid square, and I'm going to be making it a very easy step-by-step tutorial so you can grab your hook and yarn and crochet your solid square together with me, even if you are an absolute beginner. I'm a left-handed crocheter and a right-handed knitter, but I'm teaching for years and most of my students are right-handed, so be sure that your brain can easily make the shift from left to right. So even if you are a right-handed, you can follow me and give it a try and try to crochet your own solid square with me. So here are a few samples of what a solid square is. It's just a square made out of double crochet stitches, and I'm using the US crochet terms. So it's a double crochet in US and a treble crochet in the English terms. And you can crochet a tiny little solid square made out of 2 rounds. You see, this is the first round, this is the second round, or a 3-round solid square, or a 4-round solid square, 1, 2, 3, 4, or even a giant, huge solid square, as you can see here. So this is a wool that I used, and here you see cotton samples. So for today's video I'm going to be using one of my Granny Kit cotton yarns, but you can use any yarn you want to join me in this tutorial. Let's leave this aside. I'm going to be using the 3mm crochet hook, and I think we can start. To start my granny square, my solid granny square, I start with the magic loop, and I'll show you how I do it. But if you feel it's too complicated for you and you are an absolute beginner, you can just start with crocheting 4 chain stitches and slip stitch into the first chain, and then crochet the first round into the center of this circle you made. But let's see how I start, and I want to start with a magic loop. I take my yarn and I create a loop. I create a circle while the small yarn tail is underneath the working yarn, and then I take the hook and I put it inside the circle I created, and I grab my working yarn inside. And for me, this is how I start to work when I want to use a magic loop. So for this solid square I'm going to be making a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This chain 5 counts as the first double crochet and the first chain space. So 3 for the double crochet and 2 for the chain space. Now I'm going to be making 3 DCs into the yarn loop, into the magic loop, and chain 2 afterwards. So 1, 2, 3, and chain 2. Now I want to repeat these steps of 3 DC and chain 2. I wanted to repeat it 3 times in total. So I made the first time, and now another 3 DC cluster. In crochet we call it cluster, 3 DC cluster, and chain 2. And this was the second time. And now I make the third time. And here I have 3 times 3 DC clusters and a chain 2. Now I want to tighten the loop a little bit by pulling this yarn tail. And now I want to complete my first cluster. And I have, by chaining 5, as I told you, I already have a DC here waiting for me. So I want to add 2 DCs to this little guy. And here I completed the final cluster. So now I want to close my first round. In order to close, I want to make a slip stitch into the third chain of my initial chain 5. Let's see which one is the third chain, because this is the most popular question. So if I take a look at these chain 5 that I just started with, I'm starting to count from here in the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to make a slip stitch into the middle of this third chain. And whenever I take my hook out and I'm bringing it back to the stitch, I want to make sure the running yarn is in the front side of the hook. So once again, 1, 2, 3, insert my hook into the third chain and slip stitch. So now we finished our first round in the solid square, and this is a tiny little solid square where you have 4 sides which made by cluster of 3 DCs and 4 chain spaces. So now in order to start the second round, I want to start by a slip stitch into the chain space next to me. So it's this one. I insert my hook into the chain space, grab the yarn and make a slip stitch. And now I want to chain 4. This will count as the first double crochet and a chain space. You will ask yourself why if I want to have 2 chain space in each corner, why I leave only 1 stitch to the chain space here. The reason is that in my opinion, it leaves like bigger hole, bigger than the others if you chain 5 at your first corner. So I just chain 4 to create my first corner. After years of crocheting solid squares and teaching students, I feel it's nicer that way, but you can feel free to chain 5 if you find it prettier. So now after I chain 4, I want to make 2 DC into the same corner space, 1 and 2. And now I want to make a DC into each of these double crochet from our previous round. So I will push backwards the corner stitches because they can cover the first stitch and I don't want to miss it, and I will make a double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. And now I will reach the next corner space and I will make 2 double crochet, 2 chain stitches and 2 more double crochet into the chain space. And here is a corner completed. So now I want to again make a double crochet on top of each of the next 3 stitches and another corner space. So once again I will crochet 2 double crochet, 2 chain stitches and 2 double crochet into this corner space and into each corner space. 1, 2, 1, 2 and 1, 2. And again I'm pushing backwards these corner stitches, revealing the first stitch that I want to work to. 1, 2, 3 DC on top of the 3 DC from previous round, and a corner space. So it's 2 double crochet, 2 chain stitches, and 2 double crochet into the chain space. And now I have the last side to work, so I want to crochet a double crochet in each of these 3 stitches. And now I want to complete the first corner, so I have here 1 double crochet waiting for me within the 4th chain initial stitches. So I add 1 more double crochet into the first corner space, and then I want to close my round. So I want to make a slip stitch into the 3rd chain of my initial chain 4. So let's see where. 1, 2, 3. And I want to make this slip stitch in the middle of the stitch and to grab these 2 loops on my hook, take the yarn and make a slip stitch. And this is the 2nd round completed. And once again, I already have a solid square, which is made out of 2 rounds, exactly like these solid squares. Now I want to start my 3rd round. So once again, I want to slip stitch into the corner space, chain 4, and make 2 more DCs into this first corner space. And now instead of 3 stitches, I have 7 stitches. And I have 7 stitches because I have 3 stitches from the first round, but I also have 2 stitches from each corner on this side. So now I want to push backwards the corner stitches and make 1 DC on each of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches. Can you see them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now I have a corner space. So in the corner space, just as I did up to now, I'm going to make 2 DC, 2 chain space, and 2 DC into this corner space. 1, 2, 2 chain space, 2 chain stitches for the space, and 2 double crochet. So this is my first corner completed. So now again 7 double crochet stitches, 1, and a corner, 2 double crochet, 2 chain stitches, and 2 double crochet into the corner space. And the 3rd side, 7 double crochet, and then the 3rd corner, yeah, the 3rd corner. So sorry, 2 double crochet, 2 chain stitches, and 2 double crochet, And now I'm at a point where I only have to complete the last side of my square and the first corner where I just started with. So 7 double crochet and 1 more double crochet into the first corner space to complete my corner. I strongly recommend that you will stop the movie and re-watch it over and over again, because this is the best way to learn when you just starting to crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I have my first corner space, so I will add 1 double crochet into my first corner space, and now I'm going to be making a slip stitch into the third chain. 1, 2, 3, and I want to insert my hook into the middle and to take 2 loops, because I find it gives me the most aesthetic result. And here is a complete 3 rounds solid square, but for this demonstration I want to create a 4 round solid square. I want to show you what I do on my last round on my solid square. When I know that this is the last round for me, what I do is slip stitch into the chain space next to me and chain 3. So instead of chain 4, I do a chain 3, and this counts as my first DC. Now I will make another DC in the corner, chain 2 for corner space, and 2 more DCs in the same corner, so my first corner is completed. I just started with a complete corner. And now the 7 stitches added with 2 from each corner are now 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I push my corner stitches a little bit backward and I make a DC in each of the next 11 stitches. And corner space, 2 DC, chain 2, and 2 DC. So this is my second corner space. Now I'm going to be making 1 DC into each of the next 11 stitches. Next corner space, 2 DC, chain 2, 2 DC, DC in each of the next 11 stitches, another corner, and then the last 11 stitches, and let me show you how I close my last round. So whenever I know it's my last round, I have already completed my first corner when I just started to crochet, and now I have to find my scissors. Yeah. So now I'm going to avoid the last slip stitch. On all other previous rounds, I closed my round with a slip stitch into the chain, into the third chain, but on my last round, I cut my yarn and I pull the stitch all the way up, and then I'm going to close it with invisible join because I find it very helpful for me afterwards when I want to join my squares together. So if I make a slip stitch, I will hurt this one of my double crochet stitches, or this chain 3, initial chain 3, but I want to leave the edge of my stitches really pretty, beautiful, and I want to create a seamless finishing. So I thread a tapestry needle on the yarn tail, and I'm going to be making the invisible join. I'm going to make a stitch, so I want to skip a stitch. So I'm going to skip the chain, the third chain, which is counts as my first DC, and I'm going to insert my needle into the first real DC I made, which is this one. So I'm going to insert my tapestry needle as if it's my hook, pull the yarn all the way, and then I'm going to come back to this last stitch crocheted and insert my needle into the middle of the stitch and into the bar loop behind it. Pull the yarn all the way, and this is how I created my invisible join. And if I take this square aside and put it back now, you cannot even tell where is your finishing stitch, and you closed it. You closed your solid square with an invisible join, and it's now very clean. Each and every stitch is very clear and beautiful and ready to be joined in whatever method you choose. Now let me show you how I weave in the ends. Now I already have this tapestry needle, and I want to take this opportunity and to weave in my ends. So I go underneath my stitches without hurting, without showing in the front side, and usually I can go underneath the stitches, underneath the legs of my double crochet from the last round, but I also like to, from time to time, to split the yarn and to go underneath the yarn, but while at the same time inside the 4-ply, the construction of the yarn itself. So I'm not going only underneath the yarn, but also hurting the yarn construction, so splitting it. Yeah, so I go this much for one side, and then I will try to go a little bit underneath the stitches in the opposite direction, just to secure it a little bit more. And I cut the yarn, and now I have this yarn where I just started my solid square. So what I want to do is pull it a little and create a nicer center hole for my square, because I really believe that this is a huge part of the aesthetics of our square. And because I started with a magic loop, it's really very flexible to push it. That's why I like to start my squares and rounds with a magic loop. Because I started with a magic loop, I don't really need to weave in this tail. I can cut it as is, but I love to get a little extra weave in and just for a little extra secure here, to secure my yarn and to avoid broken heart later on. And this is it, all completed. This is my solid square. So this is it. This is how you crochet the solid square. I showed you the 4 round solid square, and here is our clean seamless edge ready to be joined. There are many different joining methods that are suitable for this square. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will give it a go. I really love to crochet solid squares, and my students are always busy. There is always a solid square project here on our weekly tables, as you can see on my Instagram stories. I strongly recommend that you pause the video and rewatch on every point that you feel you need to rewatch. I know it helps a lot to have a video tutorial. And if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment, let me know if you tried it. And yes, please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you on my next video.